Okay, welcome to this webinar, Citizenship in Portugal, all the hows, whys and when tos with our favourite lawyer, Daniel Reis from Reis Pellicano. Good evening to you, Daniel.
Hello, good evening, Carl. It's nice to be back.
It's great to see you. Excellent. How's Lisbon this evening?
Well, it's quite all right. Not the traffic is good, so I can complain. It has been a few since the year I started, a few good days in Lisbon, quite sunny, so it's really good.
Very good indeed. Okay, and let us begin here by setting the scene. Could you tell us, for people who don't know you, a little bit about yourself and your practice, please?
Well, yeah, as you said, my name is Daniel Reis. I am one of the partners at Reis Pellicano. It's a law firm that is directed for mainly to work with foreigners. So we deal a lot with Portuguese nationality, property investment here in the country, people that want to have the NHR program or to enroll in the NHR program. So it's mainly a law firm directed at foreigners that wish to reside or to acquire property here in the country. That's our main scope. The firm is growing. We actually have one office in Porto, one office in Faro, and the headquarters in Lisbon. And we try to be as close as possible to our clients. That's why we spread all over the country.
Fantastic. Thank you for that introduction. Now, we should make the distinction here, of course, just so people aren't confused. Residency and citizenship are different. Oh, yeah. And we will get into the whole process and the time it takes to do that. But of course, the first part is residency, which then leads on to citizenship here in Portugal. And it's a really good passport to have, right? CNN Travel just recently. Number 5, tying equally, I think, with the Irish passport that I believe my dear colleague Jerry has. So Ireland and Portugal, great passports to have. One of the benefits for both, of course, is the movement. Once you've got the passport and the citizenship, to move all over Europe. That's just one of them, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Indeed, the freedom of movement inside Schengen and the freedom to fixate yourself in another country, that's a really big advantage. And with the Portuguese passport, you can travel to Italy and stay there for 6 months, a year, how long as you wish. You just need to register in the municipality. It will take 20 minutes of your time, and you are free to live in any Schengen country that you wish. You are able to live in Switzerland as well, although they're not Schengen. There's an agreement between the EU and Switzerland, so it's quite good in terms of the EU movement to have the passport. For nationals of, for instance, South Africa, that they do struggle with obtaining visas, especially now because of consulates are closed down or they're just having a shortage of staff because of COVID. Having an EU passport does facilitate quite a lot their entry in Portugal or anywhere else in Europe. So it's indeed very good for the freedom of movement, and it's a passport well accepted throughout the world with visa exemptions. So not only in Europe, but around the world, having a Portuguese passport, it does facilitate the travel all around.
Yeah, amazing. So I make that nigh on 30 countries there. So that's a pretty big benefit. The other side of it, of course, is that people who become Portuguese citizens and get that second passport, they don't actually have to be here for much of the year, do they?
Correct. Well, one of the advantages of the Portuguese nationality is that you don't need to relinquish your old passport, so you don't need to abdicate your old nationality, and you can have as many as you like. So if you have 2, 3, 4 nationalities, that's totally fine for the Portuguese government. Although some other nationalities it's mandatory for you to communicate, and you may need to relinquish one of your nationalities, but that is with the other country, not with Portugal. So in terms of the Portuguese law, of the Portuguese perspective, you don't need to relinquish any other passports, and that is really a big advantage. Regarding the citizenship itself, once you are a citizen, you don't need to live in the country. You can live anywhere you like, and you don't need to come every 2 years or every 10 years to Portugal to remain a citizen. Once the passport is granted, or once the citizenship is granted, you are Portuguese for the whole of your life. Unless you decide to relinquish the Portuguese citizenship by any reason.
Amazing, amazing. And of course, the tax benefits that some look for as well. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, the tax benefits, you do have the NHR program that is quite well known for everyone. That is not an advantage strictly directed to Portuguese citizens. It's for all people that decide to fixate their residency here in Portugal and that have not been tax residents in the country in the past 5 years. But there's a lot of Portuguese people that they obtain their nationality abroad because they were born abroad. And once they obtained their nationality, they started looking into Portugal with a different set of eyes. And they stumbled upon the NHR program and they saw that it was quite advantageous for them. And they are moving to Portugal because of it. So I would say that having the Portuguese nationality with the NHR program, it's really good indeed.
Yeah, incredible. Okay, so people tend to assume then, actually, unless I've missed anything there. I mean, I suppose the big thing I've missed, the obvious thing, is the quality of life. I mean, we take that a little bit for granted here because we talk about it a lot, but we shouldn't overlook that. I mean, it's incredible the amount of opinion polls and surveys and awards that Portugal gets, seemingly week after week. But so forgive me, everybody, for overlooking that. I mean, that's the first and foremost. But we're a little bit spoiled, and those of us who live here. But that's a massive benefit, the quality of life that Portugal offers. And it may be that some of our Portuguese friends and regulars here might like to boast and brag about some of the surveys in the chat this evening. Good evening. I'm talking to you, Anna and Nuno, I think, who may be proud to boast of the benefits of their lovely country here. So the chat, of course, do get your questions in. I'll have a little bit of a conversation with Daniel, first of all, and we'll look at who can qualify and how long this takes. Please get your questions into the chat, and I will put those as best I can and gather them together for the more sort of universal themes. And of course, we will go after we end the recording to a bit more of a hands up and personal session where you can ask your specific questions. So who can do this? Because the assumption I make, again, another big assumption, is that I'm going through the residency and then I apply for citizenship. But some people can bypass that, right?
Well, yeah. The majority of foreigners that do reside in Portugal, after 5 years, they can request a Portuguese nationality, but there's a but, and that is you do need to learn the Portuguese language, and you need to pass on the Portuguese language test on A2 level. So probably that's the biggest difficulty, because Portuguese is not an easy language. And if you just mingle with expats speaking English all day and every day, and you don't practice Portuguese, then I do think that an applicant will struggle to obtain the Portuguese language test. So my first advice to all foreigners residing in Portugal is mingle with Portuguese people. When they start speaking English back to you, try to speak Portuguese, do the effort, because it will compensate long term, especially because the language exam, it is a comprehensive language exam. They will go into the writing part, the listening part, and at the end of the exam, you'll have a jury with 3 people, and you'll just need to have a normal day-to-day conversation about your hobbies or simple things that you like to do. And if you don't practice Portuguese, you will indeed struggle to pass on this exam. So my first advice is, if you are in Portugal, do practice Portuguese, do speak Portuguese back with your Portuguese friends, because once you have the 5 years of residency time, this will assist you. And of course, you should consider a few Portuguese classes as well, because as I said, as the language is not easy, it's practice, plus some classes would make the difference. So probably that's the biggest hurdle that I see my clients facing, is passing on the Portuguese language exam. But the Portuguese nationality has other routes that can be explored, like, for instance, marriage. So if you find a lovely lady or a lovely guy that you want to marry in Portugal, feel free to do it. And after 3 years, if that person indeed lives in Portugal and has connections with the Portuguese community, they can request the Portuguese nationality. And even after 5 years of marriage, you can indeed request the Portuguese nationality even without displaying any connection with the Portuguese community, because that is presumed that exists by the long time that the marriage did take place. So it's another way to obtain the Portuguese nationality, and one that there's a lot of clients that usually end up doing because they meet someone here in Portugal and they end up marrying. So be attentive to the Portuguese citizens that you may end up marrying with. The other route I would say is having. I'm sorry?
Sorry, Daniel. I just needed to point out that Anna wants to make it clear she's not available before lots of people try and ask her. Can I just rewind you for a moment? Did you say it's a 3-person panel on the language test?
Oh, yeah.
That's like Portugal's Got Talent, isn't it? It's like, you know.
It is. It is something of a sort, yeah.
Okay. They just sit there and they press their buzzer if you can. Okay.
And
all right.
the chairs will turn.
Okay. Sorry, I interrupted you. Forgive me.
Not a problem. Not a problem. The other one that a lot of clients do contact me and request assessment on their case is having a Portuguese grandparent. So as the Portuguese spread all over the world, South Africa, US, Canada, Brazil, there's a lot of descendants from Portuguese citizens that have a grandparent that is a Portuguese national or that was a Portuguese national. So as long as you can prove the line of descent from a Portuguese citizen, this is indeed a route that a lot of people are choosing to have, and it's quite an interesting one. But there's a catch on this, and this catch is the Portuguese citizen will need to declare the birth of their son or their daughter. And if they're not married, this may be a problem in requesting the Portuguese nationality, because if you have a Portuguese citizen that is married to a foreigner and they have a kid, if they're married, that's all right. It is presumed that the line of descent is guaranteed, and thus the grandkid of the Portuguese citizen will have their nationality without any problems whatsoever. But if the person that is the descent of a Portuguese citizen was not married at the time, and it was not the Portuguese citizen declaring the birth of that kid, then this may be problematic to obtain the Portuguese nationality, and thus we do need to assess the documents properly before we submit the application. So this may be a hurdle that will need to be overcome, and this can only be assessed with the documents in front of us. And this route of having the Portuguese nationality throughout a Portuguese grandparent, you will need to display evidences to the Portuguese community, to connection of the Portuguese community, and to have the A2 level Portuguese exam passed as well. There is one interesting exception, though, that the registry is allowing people to apply if they are over 65, with only the oral part of the language exam done. And this is quite interesting because they will, if you are above 65, they will not make you do the written part of the exam. So it is a route that some of our clients are exploring as well, because it makes the application for the Portuguese nationality, I would say, easier. And other routes to obtain the Portuguese nationality would be the Sephardic Jew nationality. And this was quite displayed in the news a few days ago because of Roman Abramovich and all that. But indeed, if you are, if you have a line of descent of the Sephardic Jew community that was expelled from Portugal in Spain at the time of the Inquisition, and if you can demonstrate that by old birth certificates and by having signs of display of belonging to the Sephardic Jew community, like the name and the rights that Sephardic Jew community has, then you may be eligible to apply for the Portuguese nationality via that route. And you don't need, it doesn't need to be your grandfather or your great-great-great-grandfather. You just need to show a line of descent of the Sephardic Jew community. And in terms of other advantages or other situations that the Portuguese nationality has become easier in the recent years, is for people that do belong to countries that are Portuguese speaking. So like, for instance, Brazil, Angola, Guinea, Mozambique, all those countries. You don't need to do the language exam because it is presumed that you do know how to speak Portuguese, and thus the nationality process was made easier in the recent few years. And one other two details that became easier in the recent years is for foreigners that have kids here in Portugal. If they are for more than a year in the country, the kid can be Portuguese if the parents wish to. So this is quite an important improvement. It's not the same as, for instance, in the US, that if you are born in US soil, you are considered a US citizen. But it's something close enough that if your parents have a connection with Portugal for the past year and a kid happens to be born here, even if the parents don't have a residency permit or a residency title, you can become Portuguese, and if your parents wish, of course, if they don't want to just have you having the nationality of your country of origin. But this is the recent changes that happened in the law that we covered in past webinars, but they are in effect. And one of the problems with all this, with the Portuguese nationality becoming easier is, and we just spoke about the advantages, but now I'm speaking about the disadvantages, is the time that the Portuguese nationality is indeed taking. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic and because of the structural delays that the public services have here in terms of hiring new people, the Portuguese nationality at the current time for grandkids of Portuguese nationals is taking about 2 years to 2.5 years. So this is quite a long time just to be waiting. And the same goes for people that have a residency permit. So, and this seems that the deadline or the time that it takes to obtain the Portuguese nationality is being stretched and stretched. If we were having this webinar, I would say 10 years ago, and if a client asked me how much would the nationality take, I would say about 9 to 10 months. And now the deadline is stretching for almost 24 months. So it is quite a long time, 24 to 30 months. So it is quite a long time to obtain nationalities.
Can I ask a question there, Daniel? Can I ask at that point? Because Claire's asking a question connected with this. Good evening from Viana de Castelo. Great choice of location. I'd like to ask how long it currently is taking. So you've covered that, but also are applicants required to keep their residence in Portugal throughout the processing period? So what do you do? If you set your appointment, does that mean you are allowed to be here for those 24 months?
Well, no one will kick you out, but by the effect of the law, you're not allowed to be in the country. So my advice is to all clients that are in the country with a residency permit, they should carry on renewing that residency permit until they have their citizen's card in their hands, and until they become Portuguese, basically. So applying for the Portuguese nationality, even though you may have all documents necessary and everything should be stellar and perfectly well delivered to the registry, but even if you are 100% sure that the nationality will be granted, staying here for the time that the nationality is being assessed, it's not considered a legal residency. So the best advice that I have for all clients in that situation is that they should renew their residency permits until the nationality is granted. So until that time, keep on renewing the residency permit. And if we are considering the residency route, that person already has 5 years of residency, so he only needs to renew the residency every 5 years, because he'll have what is called the permanent residency card, and that is only renewed every 5 years. So I would say that once you reach the 5-year mark, you can request the Portuguese nationality. It will take about 2 years to be obtained, and thus you will still be in the deadline or in the scope of the first permanent residency card that is valid for 5 years. So keep on renewing the card. That's the best advice that I have, because until you have the citizen's card in your hand, you will be still considered a foreigner and not a Portuguese citizen. You did ask something else, didn't you?
No, that's good for Claire. That's really good. Yeah. So yeah, there's another interruption to your flow there, but I just wanted to get in for Claire. I mean, one thing I could ask you at this point is the processing of this. That's not with CEF, is it? This is going to be with the registry. So to be clear, because anyone having anything to do with CEF at the moment is thinking this is going to take a long time, and they've got their own challenges at the moment. But this is not through CEF, is it? This is an entirely different department of the government.
Yeah, CEF deals with foreigners that want a residency permit. Yeah, and with migration issues, the border control and things like that. The nationality is requested within the civil registry here in Portugal, and it's a totally different entity that it's not dependent on CEF. The only thing that happens, for instance, once you are requesting the nationality via the residency permit route, is that the civil registry here in Portugal, they will do an information request to the Border Patrol Police and request, well, how many years that has this person had a residency permit. But these are the two entities connecting among their internal channels, and this has nothing to do with the applicant, because he doesn't need to be worried about that. And the Portuguese authorities, the civil registry, will contact courts and the criminal record system here in Portugal just to ascertain if any pending convictions are due in courts, or if any convictions are indeed inscribed in their criminal reports here. So this is something that it is totally automatic and done by the civil registry, and the applicant doesn't need to be concerned on. And although it's a totally different department, it is taking its time, unfortunately, because they're just overwhelmed. Each time that we go and consult any process that is taking a long time from our clients, we are able to go and see I would say the backstage of the registry, and they have piles and piles and piles of processes that are with pending decisions. So it is the biggest struggle that we have at the current moment. It is indeed the time that the processes are taking.
Okay, so that's the disadvantage side. Is just we're victims of our own popularity, if I may use the royal. Okay, superb. Okay, so we've covered the benefits. We've looked at the cases, types of case uses, if you like, for citizenship, and the length of time for the process. Anything more to say on the length of time, or when people should start their processes to save time?
Well, my usual advice on this is, if you are going the residency permit route, start trying to do the Portuguese language exam on year 3 or year 4 of your residency permit, because the exam, opposite, for instance, on what happens with the British Council, doesn't have any time validity. So once you pass on the Portuguese language exam, it is considered valid throughout all your life. And if you are indeed proficient in Portuguese at year 3 or 4, do the Portuguese language exam, because you'll have that out of the way immediately. And this means that once you reach year 5 plus 1 day, you are able to submit your Portuguese nationality application straight away.
Good. Okay. And Claire's asking, she passed the language exam. Congratulations, Claire, on that a few years ago. How fresh does the certificate have to be? Do you know?
It's that one, the one that you have.
Okay. So if you passed it, you passed.
As it doesn't expire, that certificate is valid.
Okay, excellent. So no expiration on that. That's a relief, isn't it, Claire?
Yes.
And connected to that with Thea and Suno, this is a great question. Is there a citizenship test? So we've got the language part that you've told us about very clearly there. So in other countries have a citizenship test, and they're about the culture, national knowledge history. Is there such a thing for Portugal as well?
Yep, that's not a reality for Portugal. The language exam will only assess the proficiency in Portuguese, so you don't need to know the Portuguese hymn or the first king of Portugal, things like that. That is not assessed, that is not evaluated, and we simply don't evaluate that.
Very good. So you can just watch the Good Morning Portugal show for that sort of thing. Very good. Okay. So a bit of a clarification here. I think I know the answer to this, but thank you for this, Steve. Are there different requirements in gaining citizenship between the D7 and Golden Visa? So yes, but this is a slightly different webinar. Sorry, I thought the question was, is this connected to is citizenship and the D7 and the Golden Visa connected? They are in a way, aren't they, as entry points and becoming Portuguese, but they are different parts of the process. And it's like comparing apples with oranges. I think you'd probably want to elaborate on that.
Well, I can elaborate on that. For the Portuguese nationality, it's totally indifferent if your residency permit is via a D7, via a Golden Visa, or via a work contract here in Portugal or a service providing contract. What the law states is that that person needs to have a residency permit in Portugal. And as long as it's a residency permit, it doesn't matter what is the basis or the grounds of that residency permit. So it's totally indifferent if it's D7, Golden Visa, or any other.
Okay, I may have misunderstood that question, but Daniel's cleared that up for me. Thank you very much, Daniel. And
Not a problem.
I hope that helps Steve as well. What is the cost of the process? Great question from Pam. And we've got a supplementary to that. If you have had a criminal record check for the D7, do you need to do it again? So criminal records, do they have to be refreshed? And what is the cost of these various processes, roughly speaking, Daniel?
Well, the maximum cost in terms of fees of the registry is 250 euros. So this is the most expensive fees that the registry will charge. Wow. In some of the situations, they may charge 175 euros. And in some situations, when we are addressing kids that are below 18, it's even free, the process. So the fees and the costs will vary according to the typology of process that needs to be submitted within the registry. In terms of the criminal record, indeed, you will need a new criminal record because probably the criminal record is a document that has the shortest time span ever. It's usually 3 months of validity, and you will need a new criminal record, and that criminal record will need to be or apostilled or validated by the consulate where that document was issued. And once the process is delivered, it needs to still be valid within the last 3 months. So once we go into the registry and deliver that process, that criminal record will indeed need to be valid at the day that the process is delivered. So this is something to bear in mind, and the criminal record that was submitted within the D7, as long as expired, once you will be submitting your nationality procedure, because at least bare minimum, I would say that 5.5 years would already have elapsed, would already have passed between the time that you submit the nationality and the time that you did submit the D7.
Of course. Okay. Well, I think we've just about covered it from the sort of universal point of view. And there are quite a few individual and personal questions which we'll go to after we've ended the recording. But people need to know how to get in touch with you, Daniel. How do they do that?
Well, I've put my email on the chat window, and if someone needs to contact me, feel free to send me an email, and with your questions or doubts, or if you need our assistance to do a nationality application. So feel free to email me and to connect if any questions regarding the Portuguese nationality do apply. In terms, there's one point that I didn't touch in my explanation. And sometimes this does bring some entropy in the process. Like, for instance, you do have a grandparent that is a Portuguese national, and he got married in the US, for instance. but he never bothered to register his marriage in Portugal. That marriage will need to be registered, even though a long time may have elapsed. That marriage will need to be registered here in Portugal before we do submit the application for the Portuguese grandchild. So, and this is because of a reason. And this connects with another situation. If you become Portuguese, you will need to register your current marriage here as well. Because the rule states that a Portuguese citizen should have is a civil registry always updated. So if you get divorced, if you get married, if you do get divorced again, if you remarry, as a Portuguese, it's your obligation to communicate this to the Portuguese authorities, and thus they sometimes make people register marriages and divorces that happened quite a long time ago. And this is something that causes some entropy, and that some clients do find it odd, but it is a specificity that we have, and it's something that we'll just need to make happen. That's basically it.
Be aware of that. Okay, so get in touch through our business directory at expatsportugal.com, or you can email Daniel, Daniel, Reis, Reis, at reispellicano.com. So I'll spell that for you, Reispellicano.com, Daniel.Reis at reispellicano.com. Daniel, brilliant as ever, and we'll end the recording there, and we'll go to some of these more individual and personal questions. Thank you so much.